All right, there's a basketball game on tonight, so let's get things going. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Winnetka Village Council regular meeting for April 3rd, 2023. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Ask everybody in the audience to please mute or turn off your cell phones or other electronic devices. And I'll ask the village clerk to take a roll call for attendance.
Thank you. Trustee Dahlman?
Here.
Trustee Swerk? Here. Trustee Dearborn?
Here.
Trustee Kreip? Here. President Rintz?
Here.
And Trustee Hammer? Here.
Present. Okay. Next item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll lead us this evening. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, Rob, you want to go ahead and do quorum check?
Certainly. For April, the 11th and the 18th?
I am out.
You're out, that's right, John. Any other conflicts?
Vegas conference.
And then the first meeting in May is May 2nd, and that'll be the transition meeting. We learned from the Cook County elections that that'll be the transition.
The second.
The second, correct. So John, May 2nd will work.
I'm good, yeah.
Okay.
It's the last time you can vote then.
The 18th, yes, I'm talking about May 2nd.
And the 11th, I'm not the 11th.
Okay, thank you.
We good? You gotta figure it
I've
out,
got it
right?
figured
Okay, good. All right, public comment. This is the time of the evening where anybody who wishes to can come on up to the podium here and address village council on any item that is not on the agenda. So if you're here for one of the items on the agenda, sit tight. If you have anything else you want to share with us, come on up to the microphone and share your thoughts. Come on up, Liz.
Hi, I'm Liz Kunkel. I live at 1303 Holly Lane. I'm the founder of Go Green Winnetka, part of every school green team in the area, and an EFC and Plan Commission member. And I am here to comment on compost. Through our community group efforts, we've talked a lot and educated a lot and talked even before this body about the importance of diverting food scraps and organics and creating access to it, which I love, as you know, what the village has done, the creative way it's moved that effort forward. And I want to mention something that I hope the village will look to do in the future that is something I've just become aware of the importance of, which is using finished compost and creating a market for that finished compost. And it means using compost, recommending, encouraging, and potentially requiring finished compost be used in projects. The House in the Illinois General Legislature just passed a bill that would encourage, if not require, all state agencies to use finished compost in all of its landscape projects. And the reason for that is because it's good for the soil, it's good for the air, it's good for the water. There's lots of good reasons to do it. But one of the best ways to make it happen is to require it. So I want to put that on the council's radar, and especially with the stormwater project that's going on, this is where we can incorporate really widespread composting efforts through support for stormwater and erosion control. There's tons of funding coming available, grants and other forms of funding from the federal government on down. And as we get into the thick of the stormwater project, now's the time to be thinking about how to incorporate compost, finished compost, using it, again, encouraging the use of it, as well as when the village works through long-term the implementation of the comprehensive plan and thinking about when to encourage those kinds of, again, general uses. This dovetailed with the issue of the parkway plantings a couple years ago. We talked about that issue and that it would be picked up again potentially during as part of the stormwater project discussions. And it occurred to me that the finished compost is at least as important as that. So I hope the village council will consider it. One item really quickly I also wanted to mention is that I'm going to leave you guys some presents on composting. But on another note, I know, sorry, I can't help it. Hopefully a week next month will be designated as Compost Awareness Week in Illinois. It's Senate Resolution 62. I'm waiting for it to be adopted in the state Senate, and then I'll share information. So this is information from last year's Compost Awareness Week, but it does highlight some of the importance, the benefits of using compost, and again, why we want to reduce waste, the organic waste in the first place. The one last comment I wanted to make is that I know there's a very high priority in the village to supplement our public works staff, and I want to mention that this could be a prime opportunity to include somebody with some sustainability interest or background. It's not creating a new position, but it could be incorporating it into an existing job description or a new one that's coming about. That is exactly what New Trier did 7 years ago. I didn't think they would. They shocked me when former Superintendent Linda Yonke said yes, and she added on May 15th, she chose to add into an incoming facilities person's job description starting July 1st, 6 weeks later. She added sustainability coordinator as part of his job description. So again, I know it's easier said than done, but these are opportunities to be looking for ways to encourage and bring in this kind of perspective into this long-term work that we want to do. Thank you. Thanks for letting me go over 3 minutes.
Not a problem. Anybody else like to address council this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment and move forward with reports. And we'll start with trustee reports. Andy, any report tonight?
No report.
Kim?
No report.
Bob?
No report.
John?
No report.
Tina?
No report.
Okay, village attorney.
No report.
I'm going to go ahead of the village manager tonight because I did want to mention a couple of things, and they dovetail into what Rob will give you more information than I am able to. But first of all, I wanted to point out to the village, we had a storm over the weekend, and anybody who is living in the southwest corner of our town knew it painfully well. I mean, the water at Berkeley and Cherry was probably, it was up to the bottom of the door on my pickup truck, so that gives you an idea how deep it was there. Probably a good 18 to 20 inches, and that whole area was just inundated with water. Luckily, we didn't hear too much about water in the basement, at least I haven't. I'm sure some people took water in. But the important thing to know is two things. One, the stormwater project is not done. I saw some snarky comments already on Nextdoor about, why isn't this working? And it's because they're only halfway finished with the project. So we can't expect any major results at that point in time. And secondly, and I think more importantly, this rainstorm was only measured at a 2-year event. And remember, we're building a system that's going to protect us to a 100-year event. So, first of all, anybody who's moved to town in the last 10 years and hasn't experienced this is why we're spending all this money and tearing up your streets and making a mess over there on the west side of town, because it doesn't take much. 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 in an hour, Rob? And there you have it. The good news is that it drained. 10 years ago, that water would have been sitting there for a week or so until the river went down to a level that was capable of allowing us to put more in. So the storage is working from the standpoint that it did take the water as it came downstream. As Rob will tell you, that right now what we have is a really big cup at the end of this thing, and we're filling it with a drinking straw. So the next phase is obviously to take that drinking straw and turn it into something more substantial so we can get the water into where it belongs at a quicker pace and eliminate a lot of the problems we had last weekend. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rob.
Sure. So I think you got most of the highlights. So on Friday, between 5 and 7:45 p.m., we had, within that 2 3/4 hour period, we had 1.64 inches of rain. The peak of it was a 1-hour rain event that produced 1.5 inches of rain. And typically our system will have problems with a flash rain at 1 inch in an hour. So 1.5 inches typically will start to surcharge these smaller, undersized, old sewer drains. The typical areas experience problems, the tree streets, south of Willow, DeWint, White Oak had standing water, Birch was a problem. Village crews responded very quickly, and we over-mobilized because we thought there was gonna be a second wave that was gonna come with another round of rain plus 90-mile-an-hour winds. Thankfully, that didn't happen. DeMayo, the contractor, came out within an hour and was starting to pump. The ice rink had water because of some just not able to drain positively in that area. They drained that down, and they stayed well into the evening, probably close to midnight. When the rain started to hit, the storm trap under Duke Child within the first hour had about 2.5 feet in it. By 9 o'clock, as it was really draining, it was up to about 6 feet. So it kind of tells you, it is draining, but the conveyance is undersized, and you think of it as Chris just said, a large area to drain to, but you really have small straws that are getting there. So what will happen with the conveyance part of the project will be large box culvert structures that will be able to capture large volumes of rain and then convey it to where it needs to go. So that was it in a nutshell.
Great, thanks,
Yeah.
Rob. Yeah, it was a real treat over the weekend, and thank goodness we didn't have more damage than we experienced, so. Just a couple other points on my report, just to finish up. Last week, I had the chance to sit with our new county commissioner, Representative Scott Britton. New Trier Township was spun off when Larry suffered and retired, and we've been reassigned into Scott Britton's territory. So we opened up a lot of good conversations with him, and agreed to support each other the best we can on initiatives that are common to Winnetka and the county. Also met with the chairman of the Illinois Housing Development Authority last week, as well as representatives from the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus to talk about various issues, including funding opportunities, housing disparities, and there's a third thing we were talking about. But anyway, it was a good touch base, and we started to get a good perspective on how the state is thinking about future revisions to their affordable housing ordinances or laws, and how those might impact us home rule organizations. Also attended a Northwest Municipal Conference telephone call today with President Tony Preckwinkle and about 30 other mayors. Just some quick updates on the winding down of COVID, and a couple other things that were, I think, more interest to folks in the western suburbs. All in all, a busy week. So that's that. Okay, item 6 is presentations. Well, I wouldn't have talked so much if I knew I had to read this thing, so. Item A is the Winnetka Northfield Glencoe Chamber of Commerce. This is the 100th year anniversary proclamation. And I guess I just read it. Is Terry here tonight? Anybody here from the chamber? Well, read it anyway, right, Rob? Okay. All right, this is a proclamation. Whereas the establishment of the Winnetka Chamber of Commerce in 1923 has played an important role in promoting the village of Winnetka's economic growth and vitality. And whereas the Winnetka Chamber of Commerce has been serving the needs of local businesses and residents for the past century, helping attract new businesses, expand existing businesses, provide marketing and network opportunities to local merchants, and whereas the Winnetka Chamber of Commerce has played a crucial role in making the community an attractive place for people to live, work, and play by advocating for policies that support the local business community, fostering economic growth, and promoting Winnetka as a destination for shopping and investment. And whereas the Winnetka Chamber of Commerce has brought together business leaders, community members, local government officials, and civic institutions to collaborate on a wide range of issues, including economic development, transportation, and special events. And whereas the Winnetka Chamber of Commerce founded and continues to host successful annual community and shopping events in Winnetka, including the Sidewalk Sale, the farmer's market, the Red Invitation Sale, and the Christmas tree lighting, which brings thousands of visitors into the village each year. Excuse me. And whereas the Winnetka Chamber of Commerce has demonstrated its commitment to making a positive difference in the community through the promotion of volunteerism and civic engagement of countless businesses, property owners, and residents working tirelessly to make the community a better place to live, work, open a business, and raise a family. And whereas 2023 marks the 100th year that the Winnetka Chamber of Commerce has been serving the Winnetka business community and has expanded to serve the businesses in the villages of Northfield, the village of Glencoe, and become the Winnetka Northfield Glencoe Chamber of Commerce. And now therefore, the Council of the Village of Winnetka does hereby proclaim April 4th as Winnetka Northfield Glencoe Chamber of Commerce Day in honor of its 100th anniversary, and it extends its sincere congratulations to the Chamber of Commerce, staff, Board of Directors, members, volunteers, and supporters, past and present, for their century of service to the community, ensuring a bright future for Winnetka and generations to come. May I have a motion to adopt this proclamation?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Swerk?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Kripe?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries, and thank you, Winnetka Chamber of Commerce, for all that you do for our town. Appreciate that. All right, item 7 is approval of the consent agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove any item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item 8 is the consent agenda, and I will ask the, what are you, Lee?
Whatever you want to
The
call it.
village clerk. I have to remember the role. The village clerk will read the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Approval of the village council minutes for March 7th, 2023. Approval of the warrant list dated March 10, 2023 through March 23rd, 2023 in the amount of $1,560,412.06. Resolution number R35, 2023, rejecting all bids, waiving bidding requirements, and awarding a contract to WEG Transformers USA LLC for the purchase of 3 1,000 kVA pad mount transformers. Resolution number R42, 2023, waiving bidding and approving an extension to an agreement with Health Inspection Professionals Incorporated for health inspection and plan review services. Resolution number R43, 2023, waiving bidding and approving an agreement with GovTemps USA LLC for temporary staffing services and approval of additional annual outdoor seating area permits.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Kripe?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Swerk?
Yes.
That motion carries, thank you. All right, item 9, ordinances and resolutions. The first item on tonight's agenda is ordinance number M05, 2023, granting an amendment to special use variations from the Winnetka zoning ordinance and a certificate of appropriateness for the design of additions and site improvements with the R5 single-family residential zoning district. This is for North Shore Country Day School, 310 Green Bay Road, and it's up for introduction and possible adoption. North Shore Country Day School is proposing renovations and an addition to the existing school gymnasium. Community Development Director David Schoen is here to give us the high points.
Yes, I just add on to what President Rintz said. They're requesting an amendment to an existing special use permit as well as variations, one for gross floor area and one for building height related to the number of stories that are allowed. In this district is 2.5. They are proposing a 3-story structure. The Design Review Board, the Plan Commission, and the Zoning Board of Appeals each reviewed the request, and then upon reviewing the request have made recommendations, unanimous approval to the Village Council. You have the materials from summarizing their consideration in your packet. So this evening, as President Rintz indicated, if the council wishes, because of the unanimous recommendation, we have placed the ordinance on for your consideration to waive introduction and to adopt the ordinance, or you could just pass introduction of the ordinance. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Any questions for David?
Yeah,
Jump in.
I have one question. The 278-day delay, did the applicant mention if that's hindering their ability to start construction? Or would they like to start sooner?
And I can let them also address that, but it would not delay their schedule for the project. They would plan to start on the renovation of the existing gymnasium, and then the addition would come later. So that would provide them time to get the renovation completed and then start the addition next year.
Okay, so maybe we can ask the applicant when it's their time, just to make sure.
Sure.
Okay, great, thanks.
David, and maybe the applicant will address this as well, just, and it's touched on in some of the minutes, the meeting minutes, but can you describe some of the outreach to the neighbors in and around the area over the past few years? I'm certain that North Shore has gone out of their way and been quite proactive in reaching out to neighbors, but
Yeah,
have we had any
I can let
complaints?
them
Have we had
answer
any
that.
letters from neighbors, any concerns?
We sent out our standard public hearing notices for each of the three bodies. We received nothing in writing. There was one member of the public from the Music Institute that attended the Design Review Board meeting. And I will let them, as they've shared at all of the advisory bodies, the outreach they did with the neighbors on the project.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions for David? I want to bring the applicant up for just a minute. Good evening.
Good evening. Do I need to be sworn in or anything like that? It was very exciting at the other meeting where I had to do that. Hi, my name's Tom Flemma. I'm the head of school at North Shore Country Day. I am the 9th head of school that we have had in our 104 years here in the village. I have a very short statement, and then I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have. I want to say thank you for the opportunity to appear tonight on behalf of North Shore Country Day in our community. Tonight reflects years of work to plan and present our gymnasium project to you all for special permit use approval. Our work has been driven by our 2017 strategic plan, which charged the school's administration to design and build a comprehensive JK-12 health and wellness program. Little did we know in 2017 that the next few years would illustrate in previously unimaginable ways how central wellness, physical, mental, emotional wellness would become to the mission and operation of every school. That's why we're before you tonight. As we work through our programmatic and curricular plans, the need for the school to renovate its existing gymnasium facilities and add on an additional gymnasium became evident. Our existing gym is over 60 years old and needs improvements to its accessibility, life safety, HVAC systems, and security. A second gym will allow for better scheduling and expanded programmatic opportunities for our JK-12 students, reflecting the changing definitions of fitness and wellness in the 2020s. We are excited to get started. Our architect team at Kaler Slater and general contractor Valenti Builders are partnering with the school to construct a facility that will serve our current students and future generations. We have met with our neighbors to introduce the project and are looking forward to meeting with them going forward as we share our construction plans and operations. I'd like to thank the community development team, including David, Ann, and Chris, for all of their hard work and guidance. I'd also like to thank the members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, Design Review Board, Plan Commission, and Landmark Preservation Commission for their time and guidance. We're so pleased to have received unanimous approval from all of these governing bodies. North Shore Country Day has grown up with the village. As we near the end, not quite yet, of our 104th school year at 310 Green Bay Road, we're also extremely excited for the future. Members of our project team are here, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have regarding our request. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Tom. Anybody have any questions for Tom or his team?
Yeah, the only question I have is that, is the delay of the demolition affect your schedule or hurt you at all?
No, it does not. We've looked at it a number of different ways. We had no problem with the delay with the Landmark Preservation Committee and have already factored it into our plans.
Great, thanks.
Others? Comments, questions, anything? Nothing? Wow,
Other than.
Looks great.
I'm up for adoption and introduction.
okay. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Sounds like we're gonna see some basketball tonight.
Not that that has.
No, it
any
doesn't have
bearing
anything to do with it.
on anything.
So, all right, how do we feel about waiving intro?
Yes.
I support it.
Everybody good? All right, well, let's start there then. Do I have a motion to waive introduction of ordinance number M5 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion passes, and then we go on to. You're not gonna fool me this time. Where'd it go? It says if not. Turn back the other. Oh. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M5 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Kripe?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Swerk?
Yes.
Trustee Dolman?
Yes.
That motion carries, and thank you, and we look forward to more fun over there on Green Bay and Church. All right, where are we at now? Item B is ordinance number M06 2023, adopting a comprehensive plan for the village of Winnetka. After reviewing and discussion of the proposed comprehensive plan during the joint meeting with the Plan Commission, council had requested refinements to the proposed plan. And tonight, Community Development Director David Schoen is here to review this once again.
Yes, just briefly, three major areas that we made changes. One, the council asked that we incorporate a goal and initiative related to preserving and protecting the lakefront. The plan had a lot of discussion about that, and the council asked us to include specific goals and initiatives, and those can be found on page 167 of the proposed plan. Also, some clarification where we could state that we are continuing work on some of these items, because a number of the items we already do or have set a high standard addressing them, so wanted to state that we will continue to do so. And then the last major area is to make the document more user-friendly for those who use a digital version. We've provided more hyperlinks throughout the document so people can maneuver around the document more easily. I would note, so those are the most significant changes we made. I would note that earlier today, the council had received some written correspondence from a member of the public regarding the plan, and you've received those. The Lakota group is here with us. If you have any questions of staff and our consultant team. Otherwise, after hearing from any members of the public in your further discussion, on your agenda for consideration is introduction of the ordinance that would adopt the Winnetka Futures 2040 plan as the comprehensive plan for the community. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, start out with questions for David or for Lakota? Huh?
Can we have Scott or Becky come up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You got a question, ask them. Bring them up. Bob has summoned you.
I've summoned you to the.
They have no idea who's
Both
gonna,
of you,
they don't know who's
all
gonna,
three of you.
they don't know who's gonna win, so.
So here's my question, and if
You're not on.
I'm not on?
Yeah, red is done. There you go. Now you're on.
I'm on. Elephant in the room, and we may as well just lay it on the table here. How do you interpret the comprehensive plans addressing parking in the village? Just, it's been talked about, it's been written about.
Yeah.
And just talk about it, Scott, would you?
I will. We spoke a lot about it at dinner tonight. Parking doesn't define a community. That's probably the first and most important thing. This community spoke volumes about its walkability, its connectedness to its neighborhoods. It did not speak specifically to parking being an issue in the community. From a metric standpoint, we don't have a parking problem. We have peak period parking problems in certain areas of the community at certain times or certain events. It speaks to the comprehensive plan that we've prepared for you on behalf of the Plan Commission and those that we've worked with and listened to, spoke to parking being addressed at all levels of the process in vibrant neighborhoods, in vibrant commercial business districts. It did not say or identify removal of parking from the conversation. It just did not place an emphasis on parking as being a hallmark of who Winnetka is. But it spoke to that we have to address it as we develop our community in the future. We have to be respectful of it with regards to the economic development and impacts to our businesses. And we have to think about future forms of parking and mobility and how people move, not just cars, but bikes, pedestrians, and our public transportation system. So parking is important, but it is not a hallmark of a community. It doesn't drive the community. It's almost like a byproduct of operating a community. And I think we've addressed it at every pillar in this process. I think we've listened clearly to the community. We've been respectful of it. It has not been discarded anywhere in the conversation. And frankly, we've said that you need to continue to revisit it as new development occurs and understand what the parking impacts are for a new project, for a new housing development.
That's actually kind of how I read it. I mean, it's mentioned throughout. Obviously, any large project that impacts parking in the village, whether it's commercial, residential, lakefront, whatever it might be, parking will be
Right.
addressed in those projects. I think that goes with the territory. The idea that it is a neglected issue in town, I think, is not true. And so
It's not,
I think you
yeah.
described it quite
Yeah.
aptly. Thank you.
I think I think it's addressed fairly.
That's all I summoned you for.
Do you want them to talk about parking?
Becky
Let's bring
feels like
Becky up
that.
here.
Come on, Becky, you disagree with that? Do you disagree?
How many times did you drive around the block tonight to find a parking space? Yeah,
It was crowded today.
of course you did.
Last week, there was no parking problem.
My favorite week of the year.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments for anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect you guys would come up with a magical solution for parking. You identified it as an issue. People are gonna be talking about parking for the next 50 years, or until cars turn into flying things, so I thought you did a great job, and I think adopting this is in no way being dismissive of those concerns, but people are just gonna have to sort that out. And what I like about your plan is it doesn't say you have to do X, Y, and Z. It says, here are some things that you ought to be looking at. Here's kind of the overall framework, what the village wants, so.
Parking, the beauty of a comprehensive plan we've all talked about is adapts to changing times and changing leadership structures, and it'll be a constant dialogue. But as we move into the future, none of us know what parking is going to be relative to this community 20 years from now. It'll be automated cars, and we're thinking about vertical stacking of cars, and it may be a whole different conversation when we look back 20 years and 20 years before that. So it's part of our community. You'll address it as each project comes before you.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Others? Anybody want to say anything about the plan before I call for a vote?
No, all I want to say is I think there's been a ton of work, right? That started at the Plan Commission, and they really did a lot of heavy lifting, and I sat through a lot of those meetings, not all of them, but a lot of them, I mean, where every comma was pretty much looked at. So I think this is a fabulous document. In my former role as the chair of the Plan Commission, it was often frustrating dealing with a document that wasn't as it was a great document for the time, but I don't, we've seen so much disruption into the way we live and work and all those things, that I think this document gives us that flexibility for the next 20 years, right? And it is a vision statement, and it's got those core principles, and I think it's just really a strong document, and I look forward to supporting it.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks. Others?
Well, as we talked about when we reviewed it before, and I think, Kim, you had some great ideas, and some were added in here, and so it was, you could nitpick this word by word and so on and so forth, but I enjoyed reading it a couple different times. And if you said to you're at a stage of life and you say, where do you want to be 20 years from now? You might say, I'd like to have a fulfilling career, or I'd like to have a good family life. You have sort of a guidepost where you want to go, but you don't, to your point, Scott, you don't know exactly the details, how it's going to exactly wind through the process. And this has some good detail in it, of course, but I view it that way a little. Where do we want to go? What do we want to emphasize, focus on? And I think it's really a great read. I mean, you're not going to give it to someone moving to Winnetka and say, hey, go read this document. Maybe you will, Kim, you might. They may not read it, but I think it's really got a lot of good detail in it, and I don't know, it exceeded my expectations personally, so I
Great
thank
to
you
hear
all
that.
for that.
That's great to hear.
Over here, anybody? Kim, Andy, no?
Great work, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
think it'll age well.
Yeah, it was amazing work. It really was, and I am, what really makes this a feel-good moment, at least for me, is the fact that we had homegrown talent working on it, and who knew this community and really gave the community a leg up on really building a plan that has some capacity to clarify vision for a lot of the things that we're looking at. And secondly, just how much participation we had at the community level.
A lot.
I mean, hundreds of people. I think the number was like 900.
900 people, yeah.
That's phenomenal to get that many people involved in this sort of an engagement today, when everybody's running around so busy. So kudos to you guys for sticking with it and really turning over a lot of stones and hearing from the people who we normally don't hear from, which I think is the real strength of the plan. It's easy to come into a room with a bunch of people like us who think about this stuff all the time, right? But when you're going out there to the community, to people who don't think about it all the time, you get a whole new perspective.
Right.
And I think that came through the document in a lot of places. And they weren't like uh-ohs or big surprises, but it's like, somebody's thinking like that
Right.
in town. And that was really, really eye-opening. So thank you very much for a document that's going to guide a lot of our work for the next few years, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's really well positioned to give us a guidepost for implementation and things to think about, right?
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, it's a big checklist there, for sure, so thank you for that, too. So, all right, let's see what we can do with this then. So I have I need a motion to introduce oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about that, too, didn't I, before? Would anybody from the public like to speak on this matter? Seeing none? I'll now ask for a motion. I'm having a rough night tonight. A motion to introduce ordinance number M6 2023.
So moved.
Second.
This is a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. We'll see the final on consent agenda, I assume, the next time we get together.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
And thank your staff, who was spectacular in guiding us.
Great job.
Really, really great job. So.
Too funny. All right, item C tonight is resolution number R41 2023, approving a grant agreement between the Village of Winnetka and the State of Illinois and the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. The grant agreement is set to provide $16 million in funding towards various costs associated with Winnetka's stormwater project. If you all remember, this is the funding that Representative Robin Gable basically called Rob and I from the floor saying, give me some numbers, I'm gonna get you some money. And thank you so much, Robin. I mean, she has turned out to be just a real champion of this project and for the village for that much, so. And Tim finally wrestled DCOE to the mat, and we have something to talk about.
Thank you. Good evening, council. Yeah, good news item for the village. We have been talking about this grant for a number of years, dating back to 2020, when we were notified of that line item appropriation in the state's capital project bill, that we were going to receive a $16 million grant funding, which was earmarked for Winnetka's stormwater project. Last March, we were informed that the grant funds were officially released by the Governor's Office of Management and Budget, and we began the process of finalizing the grant agreement with the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, the DCEO. So the final grant agreement is presented for you to officially adopt, and once the agreement is fully executed, we will be assigned a new grant manager by the DCEO, and we will work with them for submitting reimbursements on costs incurred to date and future costs until the $16 million is fully, received by the community. In addition to this $60 million grant, Robin Gable was able to secure $12 million grant that's still within the Governor's Office of Management budget. That grant has not been officially released yet, but that's going to be coming soon. This is the first one, and the second one should be released hopefully sometime soon within this fiscal year. And then we'll go through that process with the DCEO, working with them to finalize the grant agreement. They are very understaffed down there, so it takes a while for these things to churn through, but this is a significant milestone towards getting this grant funding in-house. So with that, the grant agreement is for $16 million. It represents a full 25% of the hard cost for the total stormwater project. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions for Tim?
Tim, just wanted to clarify, you said that there's also potential for another 12 million?
Yeah, so there was
So that'd be 28 million?
Yeah.
Yeah, 28 million that was earmarked in that state capital bill towards Winneka.
Okay.
The 12 million was initially earmarked to the county, but in subsequent budgets was actually rededicated directly to the village.
That's, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's been approved, right?
Yeah, it's
Both have been approved. It's a matter of
it's
just
DCOE.
dotting the i's and crossing the t's and getting the final submissions. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so, yeah.
federal money that gets routed to the state, that gets into the agencies, that they have their whole process of checks and balances, of sign-offs on multiple departments, multiple organizations coordinating together before the agreement finally gets to the village.
And it goes back between DCEO and the Governor's Office a couple of times before it ends up on
Yeah.
Tim's desk.
Got it. And we will have had the outlays
Yes.
already, most of it's been paid for, will be paid for by the time the grant money.
Yeah, so we're looking initially at a series of reimbursements in excess of $10 million, I
Yeah.
believe. And then there'll be, the rest of the project will be reimbursed as it goes along, primarily for the north of Willow.
Correct, it's not, we sign this agreement, we get a check for 16 million to use, we have to submit expenses and true up costs, and they'll reimburse us in tranches.
Got it. That's great.
Other questions? Anybody from the audience like to speak on this item? You guys don't have anything to say tonight? All right, we'll close.
No, they're here for their.
They're opposed to the grant.
You're opposed to the grant, okay.
Silencing the government.
Okay, we'll close public comment. Any last comments, questions? Anything? Okay, good. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R41, 2023?
So moved?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Swerk?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Kripe?
Yes.
Trustee Dolman?
Yes.
That motion carries, thank you. Okay, moving along, old business, none. Item 11, new business, none. Item 12, no appointments this evening. And item 13, closed session, there is none. And finally, Did you guys have any questions or anything before I close the meeting? I know you're here probably for school, right? Somebody made you come, so. No questions or anything like that? Okay. Well, then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned, thank you.
Whose house is game? Whose house is game?